first let's start with the very basic things everyone is aware about, that whatever the total water which we are having, out of that 100%, only 2.5% is fresh water. And if we keep going, then out of fresh water, that out of that 2.5%, we are having only 20% groundwater. And lot of things depends on groundwater, as we know. And that fresh water is also distributed in groundwater, soil water, or including groundwater, rivers. So this water is very, very limited. Further, if we ये पीपीटी मेरी नहीं चल रही क्या?
सर पीपीटी चल रहा है सर,
ये पीडीएफ लिखा आ रहा है इसमें. Okay, there may be some problem. So anyway, so now if we see the overall, that average rainfall over India is about 1120 millimeter per year. As per my understanding of requirements of water and the rain and groundwater, this is not a small amount, 1120 millimeter. This is an average for entire India. There are areas which hardly gets even 100 millimeter, and there are areas which get more than 4,000 millimeter per year rainfall as well. But average rainfall is 1120 millimeter. By many standards, this is quite sufficient. But we are having problems of water, especially in dry months, starting from March, April, May, June, and so. Now, if we see that the total average annual precipitation over India, that is the volume, is 4,000 cubic kilometer. So this itself is a very big figure. But what we are doing, 97-98% of this volume of water, which is coming in form of precipitation, is going as a waste through surface runoff or through the streams into the sea. And that is why this statement is that if we add 1 more % of our total rainfall into the groundwater, by groundwater recharge or artificial recharge or rooftop recharge, whatever methods, then we can, for some time, we can solve the requirements of water in the country. And it can be done very easily. So this is the sufficient water is there, and large maximum amount of water is going as a surface runoff into the sea, and we are not storing. And what we require is a little extra efforts to store 1 more % or 2 more % of rainfall, and then problem will be solved. This is the analysis which we did a few years back based on the certain data sets which are available currently on net. One was on IMD, which they few years back they published a CD which was in graded form, the data, and the data was in graded form of 100 years, and also the crew data. This year in caption is little wrongly, so the IMD is between 1901 to 2002 of 100 years, and the crew data is 1951 to 2003. Sorry about that wrong caption. So what we see here, that though there are inter-annual variations of rainfall over India, however, if you see the best fit line, or also see these R square values. This is not going anywhere significantly down or up, very little down. So currently what happens that anything goes wrong related with water or temperature or anything, we start accusing or attributing towards the climate change. But see, in 120 years, there is hardly any change in the total amount of rainfall which have been falling over India. Let me make little more simpler. What I am trying to say that whatever the total amount of rainfall over India in 1 year was in 1901, almost the same amount of water is falling over India in 1 year, even in 2010 or 2021. Hardly there is any significant decline. As you can see, the values coming from two analysis of two different data sets. So there my very little minor differences are there, or impact of climate change is there, but not that significant. So why the problem is? If you see, I will be showing some specific examples as well. If you see, you can imagine that what was the population of the country in 1901 and what is today. So what are our requirements of water, whether it's say groundwater or water in the reservoirs, have increased several folds. I would say exponentially. What our storage towards the groundwater has not significantly improved. So because of this deficiency or deficit budget, we are having problems about the water. As I have said that if we increase the storage, which is not, because the input is same, whatever the quota 120 years back India had about the water is almost same today, but the only our requirements has increased. Now, if you see, people have analyzed the data of different of different data sets and little differently. So what we are seeing here, that this is district wise annual rainfall trend for 1901 to 2013, and overall the distribution has changed. Especially there is a change in rainfall pattern. Even in the time, there is a delay of about 20 days, which we have witnessed even this year, especially in northern part of India. And the places which used to get maximum rainfall are getting now relatively less rainfall, and the places which didn't have much rainfall, like Rajasthan, are having now floods currently. But overall quota of water remains same. So especially the distribution has changed, and the time has also delayed. Both summer and winter time rainfall has changed, but overall the input coming from heaven remains same, almost same. So only our management of water, especially groundwater, has gone bad, or we could not match with the requirements because of population growth. And this is what I have mentioned, that there is hardly any change. Now let me bring some very specific examples. We will go a little deeper in some areas of hard rock terrain. And let me introduce this area of Bundelkhand region. So in the basement, you are having Bundelkhand gneisses or granitoids, top of which you are having at places like here, where my cursor is moving, is a Deccan Trap or basaltic terrain, and in the other part, means in the northeast part or center part, that has got eroded, and you are having some valley fills areas, and there you are seeing vegetation. So this is a typical false color composite image, and in this image what we are seeing, vegetation appearing in a red color. But the most important thing are the three water bodies which you are seeing. One is in black color, Another one in blue color, and a very tiny one reservoir is also there in black color. If you see that this blue colored reservoir is located on higher grounds, I will show you the digital elevation model, even the 3D perspective. And the area, downstream area of this reservoir is having growth of vegetation through agricultural practices. Same with this reservoir, which is appearing as black, and also it is having a downstream area which is having vegetation. Even a tiny reservoir is having its impact in the downstream area. But wherever we do not have any such reservoirs for groundwater recharge, we don't see such growth of vegetation. Very little, very scanty growth of vegetation in these valleys. And these images of end of February of Bundelkhand region. Now, this is the zoom part of this and of both. So this Sironj reservoir, those smaller in size and volume wise, you can also realize that the color is blue. So that means there is no pollution or no suspended particles. So the bottom is getting reflected. That means the water column in the reservoir is relatively less as compared to the Narayan reservoir. However, the downstream benefit area is larger in case of Sironj reservoir than Narayan reservoir. And the reason is because of it is located on higher grounds. So what we have learned, a simple interpretation of satellite images of areas where really water is a very scarce commodity, a big problem, especially in the month of March, April, May, and June. So the two things which we have learned, that even a reservoir may be less in the storage if it is located on little higher grounds, may provide better hydraulic gradient and may better benefit area, as you can see here. Whereas a reservoir which is located almost in the same level, doesn't have much hydraulic gradient, also provides a benefit area, but not comparatively as the one which is on the higher grounds. And the areas which do not have any reservoir, this is second learning, there is hardly any growth of vegetation. So that means these reservoirs, whatever the water they are storing, are recharging the groundwater regime. Let me make you clear that there is hardly any canal network. So whatever the water which is available to farmers is only groundwater, mainly groundwater. So a clear-cut understanding is developing for this particular area, that if a reservoir is located little on higher grounds and we provide a better hydraulic gradient by that, and we get a good recharge. This is about the geology, which is quite simple, of a larger area, but the Sironj and this Narayan reservoir are here. As you can see that this is unweathered basalt, and whereas a large part is having weathered basalt, and some are again weathered granite, unweathered granite, which you can also see. And I will be showing some examples from this. So this is 3D perspective, as I can convince that point, that since Sironj reservoir is located on higher ground, it is providing better groundwater recharge in the downstream area as compared to Narayan. Now, I don't want to go much detail in this, but very quickly I will tell you that if you utilize all these parameters on a GIS platform, which are important from groundwater exploration and groundwater recharge point of view, you can integrate using the platform, GIS platform, and then you can come out with some good results. So this is what I will show you. You have to assign certain weights. Now, weights based on our understanding of the area can be assigned, or using some hierarchical methods or other techniques. by which also you can assign weights for different parameters. Here, 4 geology, geomorphology, lineaments, and slopes have been exploited to assign the weights. Plus, you can use the groundwater recharge fluctuations and specific yield methods also, that you know what are the rocks, you know what are their specific yield, plus pre-monsoon data and post-monsoon data. That will let you know that what is the recharge happening in one monsoon season. And that will allow you to prepare a recharge variation map, multiplying with the specific yield, and then you get one more better layer. Plus, of course, geology is there. Lineament is there, and you may end up with this kind of map, which is a groundwater prospective zone. Though this is 1998 publication, one may say this is very old, but the solution is not very new or no innovation. Basically, our ancestors knew, and this point I will prove that how they knew, but we are forgetting, and we are looking for very high end or sophisticated solutions, which is not really required. If we imply or implement very simple solutions, we can still solve the problem of groundwater in the country. So if somebody is looking for groundwater in this area, then these valley fill areas are having the good prospect. Then yellow one are moderate. Higher grounds, which are unweathered basalt, are having very poor prospects. So this is generally in groundwater, this is how we know that higher grounds will not have a good possibility, one. And second is because they are representing the area, or these areas will have order of stream maybe first or second order. So that is also sometimes a problem. So we have to go little higher in orders of stream for the construction of these recharge structures. Another product which you can create is the sites, potential zones, areas for creating reservoirs for groundwater recharge. So here, as you can see, that not very high grounds have been chosen, but less, little less grounds or foothills or little higher than foothills areas have been chosen, so that they can still provide good hydraulic gradient, but at the same time the reservoirs or structures would be located on third or fourth order streams. That means they will have little larger catchment area to get the water into the reservoir, and in downstream they will provide the groundwater recharge. This is just example, very specific example for one area. Now, what really happens in case of hard rock terrain, and especially if I talk about Bundelkhand region or many regions of the country where we are having hard rocks, generally we are having unconfined aquifer conditions, where whatever the water which is coming in form of rain, some water, only some amount of water goes in these unconfined aquifers, and large amount of water, 98%, 97.5% water goes as a surface runoff. In hard rock terrain, this problem is bigger as compared to like a plain like areas like Indo-Gangetic Plain. And this is again that whatever, because only top part is weathered or fractured, and that part can only hold the water. If you go little deeper, you are having solid rocks, you don't have much fractures, the weathering is not there, and therefore even if you go for a deeper well, you may not get the water. So the well has to be within this zone where we are getting water, and these because the aquifer conditions are unconfined, not confined conditions. And if I take this example for Bundelkhand region, it's a big region of the country in the central India, and it's a big problem about the water. Though in recent years there have been some efforts and benefits are coming, I will show you the examples. I said that our ancestors knew, and this is what they knew. If you see the satellite images, you would find that this Bundelkhand granitic terrain is having these structures running between northeast to southwest, and these are called quartz reefs. Geologists can understand very easily. So, of course, these are later, because of some large tectonic activities, the gaps were generated, and these gaps have been filled by quartz. Quartz, relatively being harder compared to granite, it stood, whereas the granite, because it has the feldspar, which is relatively weatherable, easily weatherable, so that got weathered. And these quartz reefs are now standing at places of even 20 meters higher than the ground level. And these quartz reefs are running for hundreds of kilometers in northeast southwest direction. So what our ancestor did, that whenever they found that a drainage or a stream or river is crossing these quartz reefs and are not blocked, they have blocked these quartz reefs using the local material. And result of this, that lot of such reservoirs, which you can see as black areas, have been created. And again, this is false color composite. So you would see that wherever these water bodies are there, because of quartz reefs have been blocked, and the drainage, as you can see, is running from southwest to northeast direction. In the corner northwest, you are seeing the Betwa River, which ultimately meets Chambal, and then Chambal meets Yamuna, and of course Yamuna meets Ganges. So what you are seeing, that wherever the water bodies, you are seeing the growth of vegetation, and wherever the water bodies are not there, like in the the western part, western margin, a large area, hardly any growth of vegetation. So very simple solution, that nature has created these dam axes which are running for hundreds of kilometers, and there are hundreds of places where these streams or rivers are crossing quartz reefs without any check. Like here where my cursor is moving, as you can see here, you can see here. So if we block these quartz reefs, then what would happen in 1 or 2 years time, which I will prove that how it is effective, why I have used word 2 years time, you would have growth of vegetation, and growth of vegetation is because of ground recharge of that groundwater regime, which is in the unconfined aquifer conditions. So very simple solution, identify wherever these quartz reefs are allowing water to go through, or streams are going through unchecked through quartz reefs, just block them. Now a geologist will understand that these quartz reefs are very, very deep. In fact, we don't have, still today we don't have the knowledge how deep these are, and these may serve as a groundwater barrier, but doesn't matter. Even if they recharge the groundwater areas which are in the upstream or in the vicinity, still we will hold the water, we will delay the runoff, and ultimately it will recharge the groundwater regime. Wherever it recharges, it will hold the water for some time, and that will go in unconfined aquifer conditions. This is what you are seeing. I will show you some very specific examples. Like here, now the drainage is in opposite direction. That means it is coming from northwest towards the southeast. There is a quartz reef which is of course running northeast to southwest, and these have been blocked. 2 small reservoirs are there, and in the surrounding of these reservoirs we are seeing growth of vegetation. That means groundwater recharge regime is being benefited because of these 2 reservoirs, and wherever we do not have these water bodies, we hardly see any growth of vegetation. Now, one more example of the same area, and as you can see that here the quartz reef is in completely different direction. This may not be exactly quartz reef, this may be a dike, because ultra basic dikes are also there and which are running in northwest southeast direction, almost opposite to the quartz reefs. But if a reservoir is constructed on that, let that ultra basic dike serve as a groundwater barrier, but in the upstream part we are getting the water, little less water in the downstream area. Same another example here, that these have been constructed using these quartz reefs or some ultra basic dikes. Now this reservoir is very close to my heart because I belong to the same area, and it is called Gobind Sagar Dam, and this is located on a Sahjad river, which is of course tributary of Betwa. Now, interesting part here is that this reservoir was constructed before my birth. That means before more than 61 years back. And at that time, the population of the Lalitpur town, which I will show you exact numbers, was little, and reservoir of this size was constructed, or larger. Why I am saying larger? Because in these 61 or 62 years time, there is some siltation and there is some encroachment as well. That means the total of volume of water which used to be stored 62 years back is not now being stored, whereas the population has grown very significantly, or requirements of water in the downstream area in the town has increased many folds. And then I remember in my childhood, and many of us might be remembering this, that we didn't have any water problem. In my hometown, the tap water was available 24 hours. And now it is not even available for 24 minutes. Because we have not augmented the groundwater recharge. We are still depending on this particular reservoir. And very interestingly, this reservoir is so effective because in downstream, in the area is having unconfined aquifer condition. Once the reservoir is filled, like in monsoon time currently, in downstream area, I can show you artesian conditions. I have seen in my childhood that even a parapet of about 2 feet of a duck bell was flowing in the downstream of this reservoir once this reservoir is full. So it is so effective, such water bodies in these hard rock terrain. Now very specific data is available that it was constructed between 1947 to 53, and these were the length and areas, and the reservoir was much bigger than the town at that time. But now, see the population in 1951, it was only 34,000 people, and in 11, that was the last census was done, it is 1.33 lakh. And if census is done today, I'm sure it will cross 1.5 lakh. This is only about town, not the district. See, so what we have, 4 folds population has grown, but our storage of rainwater, even through surface water bodies, have reduced. And that is why the water problems are there. So if we want to solve the water problem in any part of the country, especially in hard rock terrain, we should develop such groundwater recharge structures in a same manner as growth of the, or as per requirements or growth of population. And if we maintain that balance, there will not be any problem of water. And in Bundelkhand region, simple solutions you apply, you use these quartz reefs which are already created dam axis, just block it using local material, employing local people, and in 2 years' time, you will get the impact. You would see impact through satellite imaging, which is a completely unbiased way of assessing the progress or impact, which I will show you examples as well. See that at that time, when I was saying for all over India, in 1951, that was the 56 crore. And now in 11, it was 131 crore. Now we talk about 130 or 135 crore people because of Corona, the 21 census could not be held. So population has grown, whether for a town or for a country, but our groundwater recharge structures have not grown fourfolds. If they would have grown correspondingly, we would not have water problem. And still, this problem can be solved in 2 years' time. Let me give you example. And this is about the gross storage and other things are there. And just digging out the old topo sheets and showing some that thing. That this is 1924 topo sheet. Luckily, I got a very old topo sheet. Because our department is having good collection of even old topo sheets. At that time, reservoir was not there, and you can see the size of Lalitpur town. And in 1973, it was also not very big when it became a district headquarter. And then suddenly in 21, this is the growth of the town. At the same time, the size of reservoir is reducing. There might be some scale issues, but nonetheless, you can compare with this water body. Even other small water bodies either have disappeared, as you can also see, like here, either have disappeared or encroached very significant. And this has happened all over the India. Now, if I talk about the examples of even Indo-Gangetic plain, as you can see that, see here, there is a reservoir, and in the downstream, this is true color image of Google Earth, and in downstream, you see the growth of vegetation. And wherever you don't have any such structures, you are having quite dry part. Another example from Maharashtra, which faces a lot of groundwater problems. See, all these tiny reservoirs are having their own benefit areas. See the best example here. And cascading reservoirs are also possible. One reservoir, then as soon as the tail of this reservoir ends, another starts. It is not necessary to go for large one. Even a small will have. And see the effect of this reservoir. The downstream area is very big. So even if we check it stream, we get a very good impact, as you can see here. So I would come now to some quantities, because we are in IIT, so people always look for quantities rather than qualitative assessment. So we have introduced very simple quantity, which is the ratio. And these terms I have been using, that if there is a reservoir, then whatever the part which is submerged, we call as a submerged area, and whatever the area which we can see in satellite image through a growth of vegetation, we call as benefit area. So if we create a ratio between benefit and submerged area, then we can assess what is the impact of a groundwater recharge structure in terms of quantity. So that exercise we did for that Bundelkhand region. And as you can see, that a small reservoir, which is showing a benefit versus submerge ratio 28 times. What it means, that if I submerge in this particular area where this Chanderi reservoir are there, ladies must be knowing about where Chanderi is or why Chanderi is popular. It is popular for beautiful saris. So if I want a very good return of my investment of land, then this area will give return by 28 times, and in 2 years, which I will also prove. So if I create a reservoir which requires 1 square kilometer of submerged area, then in return, in 2 years' time, I may get benefit of 28 times or 28 square kilometer of area will be benefited. However, there are some reservoirs which may give me negative growth. So we need not to develop here immediately. What we can take a threshold that any area where these current reservoirs are located and they are indicating, they are our indicators that what benefit in return you will get. So if we take a threshold of 10 of this ratio value, then I would be certain that even if today I invest 1 square kilometer of land, in 2 years time in this area, 10 square kilometer of land will get the benefit from groundwater recharge, and I can assess that through growth of vegetation. Let me show you now further examples on this. As I've been saying, in 2 years time, there is a big reservoir. This is multi-purpose reservoir which was developed on Betwa river, and this makes the boundary of UP and MP. On the eastern side you are having UP, on the western side you are having MP, and this is a common property between two states. What you are seeing that in 2001, when hardly there were filling of this reservoir, that was not completed. In 2002 it got completed, the reservoir started filling, and then in 2003 and in 2004 it became a full size reservoir as expected. But the interesting part which you have seen, you have to see that the vegetation, the growth of vegetation, just compare with 2001 when we didn't have a reservoir, and compare in 2004. So I said in 2 years time, 2003 too has brought the benefits in the downstream area in form of growth of vegetation, because this is MODIS data. It is available free of cost, and anybody can download and see even for current year also. So all over, because across the basin also the benefit was seen, because as I have said, this is multi-purpose reservoir. So there is a hydropower project, there is a canal irrigation, there is a lift irrigation, so the water is going on the other side of this basin boundary or watershed, and all over there is a growth of vegetation. Another indication of that in 2004-5, the local mandis could not handle the crop production. So much suddenly the crop came, or the products came, that they, the outside, businessmen had to come to collect that data. Somebody might have thought that I am showing in 2001 a pre-earthquake image and 2004 as a post-earthquake image. No, it is not true. See the same 17th December. And this is what you see here. See the 2002, the reservoir and the surroundings, some growth of vegetation, and see in 2013. All over the places you are having, wherever the water bodies are there, you are seeing the growth of vegetation. Before reservoir, only the forest part is seen, but see in 2002, just 1 year, 2001 the reservoir was there, it started filling, and in 2002, this is what the impact of that reservoir you see. And this is the joy of water which you see in a hard rock terrain when you didn't have the reservoir. You had the soil, you have the people, agricultural fields, but they didn't have the water. And as soon as water started coming, even in their canal, because these are unlined canals, so they too are recharging the groundwater receipt. So everywhere, once the water is reaching, you see the growth of vegetation. So if I take the entire Bundelkhand region, and as I have said, that what we did, we mapped all these quartz reefs, and as you can see, these are the ground photographs also, that the height is about 25 to 30 meter, and there is a gap, and through this gap a stream is going. So what we need, we have to exploit these natural dams and just fill this part. And if we can do it, we can create a reservoir, as you can see. And I will show you how in GIS, you can exploit in GIS to estimate many things. And I have been saying that these quartz reefs are running northeast southwest. So you can see also through Rose diagram, these were also identified on Landsat images, on high resolution images, and many of them are running for hundreds of kilometers. So we identified many these red lines which you are seeing on the left figure. These are the areas which are still unchecked, and quartz reefs are there, means dam access is available. So if I take this example, which is shown as a black box, on the right side you see there is a quartz reef running northeast southwest roughly, and a proposed dam is shown here. And using GIS, you can fill upstream area, deciding the height of the dam, proposed dam, and then you would know that which area would get inundated, how much of volume of water you would be able to store, and also if you are having land use map, you can immediately know that which type of land use will be submerged. But if it is area like Chanderi area, then we know that in roughly 2 years time, the 28 square kilometer of area, if I invest 1 square kilometer, 28 square kilometer of downstream area will get the benefit. So this is how the problem in particular area can be solved. But I have shown examples of Maharashtra area, I have shown examples of even Indo-Gangetic plain also. So this is what, once that the boundary of that inundated area, proposed dam is there, you overlay on the land use map, and immediately you get this information. Also, if you are having revenue records, which is nowadays have already been digitized, then you would know whose land will be inundated. And by changing the height of the dam on a GIS platform, you can satisfy many decision makers that if I lower little bit, then can I save the forest, can I save agricultural land, and can I have minimum shifting of the people. So that kind of possibility is also there once you start simulating all these things on a GIS platform. So all things are here. The high resolution image is showing these quartz reefs, as you can see here. This is still unchecked, the stream is going. If we block and do like this, then we get the reservoir, land use map, a profile, and many parameters which would be required for the construction by the civil engineer can also be estimated. Now, so what this is on the ground, this is how these quartz reefs looks. An interesting part, as you know, in India, wherever higher grounds are there, people will go and construct temples. As you can see, some flags are there or some temple. This is how you also see on the ground, and these quartz reefs are running like this, and also the close-up of these quartz reefs. And river section, road sections will show you these quartz reefs, how they are going without unchecked. And many such structures which have been constructed over quartz reefs are also shown here, which they have exploited while locating the reservoir. Now, shifting from one hard rock terrain to another hard rock terrain, and then further simulations are also possible. Further sort of modeling or prediction is also possible. What you are seeing here is the Karjan Dam, and this is the reservoir, and in downstream you are seeing growth of vegetation. This is false color composite. Another dam on this Narmada river was coming, which is Sardar Sarovar Dam, and we have simulated the proposed height. So when this dam will reach to the design height or proposed height, this is what the inundated area would be. Inundated area, and of course you can calculate the volume. So getting knowledge of that ratio, submerged versus or benefit versus submerged ratio, if we get say 10 times, then I implement that 10 times ratio here, considering that this geologically this area is almost same. So then we can predict that since this is the knowledge, this is the already information available to us, and the knowledge developed here can we implement it for this area, and we predicted that this is what going to happen, because learning from a neighboring reservoir in the same geological setup, and then if you can assess that what happened to your assessment or modeling or prediction is that through the satellite images, and you see that once this reservoir started filling, you are getting growth of vegetation in the downstream area in the same almost same ratio as the ratio which we understood through the Karjan Dam. So this is how you can do it, even employing simple Google applications. You can locate these reservoir sites, and this is what is available in. If you go for terrain map, you get a shaded relief model. The Bundelkhand area I am showing, and there are areas where you can see that the river is going without any check. So if much population is not there, then this can be checked and a reservoir can be constructed, as people have already constructed in other parts. And if we keep adding, exploiting such natural dams and sufficient water, this area receives more than 900 millimeter average annual rainfall. So rainfall water is sufficient. Maximum water is going as a surface runoff. Only thing, we have to locate the most appropriate site for groundwater recharge structure, and in 2 years time you get the benefit. This is what I wanted to show you through this. There are many such examples I have already shown. There are other examples. You can see that wherever these fracture lines are there, they are having vegetation. So that means they are providing water, and that water is, of course, because this is running almost parallel to this dam axis, so might be getting supply of water in these fracture zones because of reservoir. Now some other ways also you can exploit, and this kind of study came through so I would say an accident or blessing in disguise. You know that many people are nowadays are using surface hydrologic modeling concept or modeling tools available on GIS platforms. And when we do this modeling, we assume that whatever the rain or whatever the precipitation which is occurring will flow as a surface runoff. But as you know, it's a big assumption, because we know that entire amount of precipitated water will not flow as a surface runoff. Even a 1%, 2%, 3% of water may go to the subsurface through infiltration and percolation to the groundwater receipt. So that means that the natural drainage and this simulated drainage through surface hydrologic modeling has to be different in those areas where we are having better groundwater recharge through this rainfall. And this is what the assumption we exploited. In a few examples I would show you. As you can see, this is part of West Bengal, Bankura area. And as you can see in the upstream part, this is red color is showing the drainage, which is the simulated drainage, and the black network is showing the drainage which we have mapped from Survey of India, which is surveyed on the ground. And one is the modeled one, another one. So wherever the mismatch, that means there it is not following the modeled drainage. That means it is recharging the groundwater receipt. So this mismatch we can exploit to locate our groundwater recharge site. So as I have been saying earlier also, that ordering streams ordering 1, 2, 3 may not be good site to locate groundwater recharge structure, but if you come for 4 or 5, 5th order, 6th order, these are the areas where you may get the mismatch, as you can see in this southeast quadrant, and there this recharge structure should be constructed. One more examples is there. This is in again from Bundelkhand region, and as you can see that higher ordering streams are showing good match compared to the lower stream. That means they are recharging groundwater regime. So based on this plus other knowledge, we can again go to GIS platform and develop a recharge, artificial recharge map, that where exactly are the areas which will provide the best benefit from groundwater recharge point of view. So these green areas, you go a little higher up to even blue areas, but yellow areas are poor, and red areas completely hard rock terrain without any fractures or weathering. You need not to develop, even if you are having third order or fourth order streams. Similarly, for this also the same area you can do. So you can exploit satellite images, you can exploit your GIS platform, and whatever the free data available, that too can be employed, and immediately you can assess that what benefit I am going to have if I construct a reservoir, and where to construct, that too I can assess, and how big I have to construct, that too you can simulate through GIS. So now I come to the end of my presentation, and that there is an extensive need to develop benefit submerged area ratio extensively for entire India. I have shown examples of Bundelkhand region, which faces really a water problem in the summer months, but for entire country this ratio can be, this index can be developed, and then decisions can be taken much easier for priority areas. So we will go for those areas which are providing very good benefits initially, and if we invest that, if we do it that thing in 1 or 2 years time, I am sure 100% that in 2-3 years time we would be able to solve this groundwater problem. And the topic of this seminar or workshop is for this jal to the home, ghar ghar jal, that would be fulfilled very easily, because then water would be available for supply to the individual houses or households. So water harvesting know-how is available. Even our ancestors knew. Only thing, it has to be implemented on the ground level. And planning of interventional water transfer only for one river is being done at a very slow pace, but it can be done for other areas as well. That example is also intervention water transfer is also from Bundelkhand region. Further, that we can very easily identify employing remote sensing, developing knowledge of local area through remote sensing images, and then once that knowledge is there, we can implement or employ GIS to model the things to locate the sites for groundwater harvesting, preliminary assessments of impacts of reservoir before construction of such, because our decision makers will ask so many questions. They will say, how big reservoir do you want to construct? Okay, I have decided that this height of reservoir, then what is the area would be inundated, whose land would be inundated, what would be the loss of land use? Then all those answers before you go for decision making, you can develop employing remote sensing and GIS. And lastly, simple solutions with local people and local materials. That should be the approach. The local people should be made owner of these structures. Let them construct either through this NREGA scheme or any other schemes of the government, and let them feel that they owns that structure. They will maintain, and they will, of course, they are the first beneficiary of such solutions for groundwater problems. And this is just not an sort of, you can say, an advertisement, but not exactly advertisement. The work which I was showing is having the highest citation of my work, 631. So you can see that what importance of water all over the people, all over the world, people are exploiting or the knowledge or the research we developed through our these publications, especially the particular one which is on the top, is being used by the people for, especially for hard rock terrain, whether it is India or Iran or any other country. So this is the benefit. You know, we may talk about very sophisticated solutions, but which are very hard to implement on the ground. And that is why in the last line of my conclusion is simple solutions with local people and local material can solve groundwater problems in 2 years' time in the country, whether it's a hard rock terrain or it's a flat areas like Indo-Gangetic Plain. With this, I thank you all for listening, and it's open now for questions.